Sometimes the most dangerous weapon in the world isn't a gun, it's a dinner invitation. Before we dive in, pause for a moment and tell me something. Where in the world are you watching from, and what time is it right now? Don't just watch quietly, drop a comment below and let's see how far this story reaches across the world. Now, lean in, and let's begin. Maya Blackwood stood in her kitchen at 3 a.m, staring at her husband's phone like it was a loaded revolver. The blue light illuminated her face in the darkness, casting shadows that made her look like someone else entirely. Maybe that was fitting. Because the woman who went to sleep 4 hours ago no longer existed. The messages were explicit. Months of them. Her husband Derek and her cousin Lena, tangled together in words that burned worse than any physical wound. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow," Lena had written. "Tell Maya you're working late again." Derek's response made Maya's hands shake so violently she nearly dropped the phone. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She simply stood there in the cold kitchen of her beautiful home in the Colorado Territory, listening to the clock tick and feeling something inside her crystallize into ice. Outside, the wind howled through the prairie grass like it was mourning something that hadn't died yet. Maya had built this life with careful hands. She'd married Derek 5 years ago when he was just a ranch hand with big dreams. She'd helped him build his cattle empire, stood beside him through droughts and harsh winters, made their house a home that people in town admired. And Lena, sweet, struggling Lena who'd come west after their aunt died, Maya had taken her in, given her work, treated her like the sister she never had. Now those two people, the ones she'd loved most in this world, had been laughing behind her back. Meeting in secret. Touching each other while Maya planned family dinners and hemmed Lena's dresses and believed in the fairy tale she thought she was living. The phone buzzed again. Another message from Lena: "Thursday dinner at Maya's. We have to be careful. She can't ever know." Maya's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. She set the phone down exactly where she'd found it, walked to her writing desk, and pulled out her finest stationery. The kind she used for special occasions. By the time the sun rose over the Montana mountains, she'd written 5 elegant invitations to a farewell dinner. Derek and Lena would be there, of course. So would 3 other people who mattered. Maya sealed the envelopes with red wax and pressed her signet ring into each one. She wasn't planning a dinner party. She was planning an execution. The morning sun poured through the kitchen windows as Maya flipped pancakes with steady hands. Derek stumbled in, still half asleep, his hair pointing in directions that would have made her laugh just yesterday. Today, she studied him like a stranger. How had she missed it? The guilt in his eyes when he looked away too quickly. The phone always face down on the table. "Morning, beautiful," he said, kissing her cheek. His lips felt like lies. "Good morning, darling." The words tasted like ash, but her smile never wavered. "I'm planning a dinner party for Thursday. Nothing fancy. Just intimate." Derek's coffee cup paused halfway to his mouth. "Thursday? What's the occasion? Does there need to be one?" Maya slid pancakes onto his plate, each movement precise and controlled. "I just feel like gathering people we love. You'll be there, won't you?" Something flickered across his face, relief, maybe, that she suspected nothing. Of course. Wouldn't miss it. Perfect. Maya turned back to the stove, hiding her expression. "I already invited Lena." She seemed thrilled. The kitchen fell silent except for the sizzle of butter in the pan. Maya could feel Derek's eyes on her back, searching for cracks in her composure. He wouldn't find any. She'd practiced her smile in the mirror for an hour last night, perfecting the exact angle of her lips that said everything is fine when everything was burning. Later that afternoon, Lena arrived at the house with fresh eggs from town, her blonde curls bouncing as she walked up the porch steps. 23 years old and beautiful in that careless way youth allows. Maya watched her through the window and wondered when exactly her cousin had decided that family loyalty meant nothing. "Maya!" Lena's hug was enthusiastic, her perfume too sweet. I got your invitation. A farewell dinner? That sounds so mysterious. Where are you going? Who said I'm going anywhere? Maya linked her arm through Lena's, guiding her into the parlor. Maybe I'm saying farewell to something else entirely. Lena laughed nervously. You're being cryptic. Am I? Maya poured tea with hands that didn't shake. I suppose I've just been thinking about honesty lately. About how we show the world one face while hiding another underneath. Don't you ever feel that way, Lena? Like you're wearing a mask? The teacup rattled against Lena's saucer. And Maya smiled, sweet as poisoned honey. But what Lena didn't know was that the real performance hadn't even started yet. Maya waited until Derek rode out to check the northern fence line before she moved. The moment his horse disappeared over the ridge, she was in his study, her skirts swishing across the hardwood floor like a ghost haunting her own home. His desk drawer wasn't even locked. That's how safe he felt. How stupid he'd become with confidence. Inside, she found letters. Not just messages, actual letters, written in Lena's looping handwriting on paper Maya herself had given her last Christmas. My dearest Derek, one began. Maya's hands trembled as she read words that detailed not just an affair, but a fantasy. They'd talked about running away together. About waiting until the time was right. About how Maya would never have to know. She photographed every letter with the small camera she'd bought in town, telling the shopkeeper it was for documenting her garden. Let him think her vain. She was documenting something far more important, the evidence that would bury them both. In the back of the drawer, beneath a false bottom she discovered by accident, Maya found something worse. A land deed. Derek had been slowly selling portions of their ranch, her family's ranch, the one her father had left her, and putting the money in an account with only his name. Planning his escape. Planning to leave her with nothing. Maya sat back in his chair, breathing slowly through her nose. The rage threatened to consume her, to make her reckless, but she forced it down like swallowing broken glass. Emotion was the enemy now. Precision was her ally. She spent the next 3 days becoming a detective in her own life. She noted every time Derek said he was riding to town but came back smelling like Lena's perfume. She documented the glances they exchanged at Sunday service, thinking no one noticed. She befriended the hotel clerk who reluctantly admitted that yes, Mr. Blackwood had rented room 7 on multiple occasions, always in the afternoon, always paying cash. The picture became clear as mountain water. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a moment of weakness. This was calculated betrayal, planned and executed by 2 people who thought she was too trusting, too naive, too devoted to ever suspect. They were right about one thing, the old Maya would never have suspected. But the woman sitting in Derek's chair, surrounded by evidence of his treachery, wasn't the old Maya anymore. She was someone new. Someone dangerous. And she had a dinner party to plan. The ivory invitations lay spread across Maya's dining table like cards in a high-stakes poker game. Each one represented a witness, a piece of her carefully constructed plan. She dipped her pen in ink and began to write in her most elegant script. First, Sarah Mitchell, her closest friend since childhood and the town's most respected schoolteacher. Sarah knew Maya's marriage from the beginning, had stood beside her at the wedding. She would understand the depth of this betrayal. Second, Robert Blackwood, Derek's older brother. A man of strict moral code who'd once horsewhipped a ranch hand for stealing. His presence would matter when Derek tried to explain himself later. Third, Margaret Stone, Lena's mother, Maya's aunt by marriage. The woman deserved to see what her daughter had become, even if the truth would shatter her. Derek and Lena's invitations were already written, already accepted. They'd both eagerly agreed to come, blind to the trap closing around them. Maya sealed each envelope with red wax, pressing her mother's signet ring into the soft surface. The ring bore her family name, Thornton, the name this ranch had belonged to before she'd foolishly added Derek's name to the deed. That mistake would be corrected soon enough. What are you doing? Derek's voice made her jump. She hadn't heard him come in. Just correspondence, darling. Maya's voice remained steady as she slid the invitations into a neat stack. Confirming our guest list for Thursday. I do want everything to be perfect. Derek moved closer, his boots heavy on the floor. For a moment, Maya wondered if he could see through her performance. If he could sense the fury radiating beneath her calm exterior like heat from buried coals. You've been quiet lately, he said, studying her face. Everything all right? Maya met his eyes without flinching. Everything is perfect, Derek. I've just been thinking about our future. About honesty in marriage. About what we really mean to each other. Something flickered in his expression, guilt, perhaps, or fear. But it passed quickly, replaced by that easy charm that had fooled her for so long. You're the best thing that ever happened to me, he said, and had the audacity to sound sincere. I hope you know that. Oh, I know exactly what I mean to you. Maya smiled, touching his cheek with fingers cold as January frost. And by Thursday evening, everyone else will know too. Derek laughed, missing the threat entirely. But Maya wasn't laughing. She was counting down the hours. Wednesday morning, Lena arrived to help prepare for the dinner. Maya had specifically asked for her assistance, knowing it would twist the knife deeper when the truth emerged. They stood side by side in the kitchen, kneading bread dough, looking for all the world like loving family. You seem different, Lena said, glancing sideways at Maya. Lighter somehow. Happy. Do I? Maya shaped the dough with practiced hands. Maybe I'm just excited for tomorrow. There's something liberating about saying farewell to things that no longer serve you. Lena's hands faltered. What do you mean? The dinner's theme, silly. Maya laughed, the sound bright and hollow. Farewell to the old, welcome to the new. Fresh starts and honest futures. Don't you think we could all use more honesty in our lives, Lena? The younger woman's face had gone pale. Yes, of course. Good. Maya wiped flour from her hands. Because I've been thinking a lot about deception lately. About how people can smile to your face while stabbing you in the back. About how betrayal often comes from those closest to us. She turned to face Lena directly. Don't you think that's the worst kind of betrayal? From family? Lena's hands were shaking now. Maya, could you fetch more firewood? Maya's voice cut through whatever confession had been forming. We'll need the stove hot for tomorrow's roast. After Lena fled outside, Maya allowed herself one moment of satisfaction. The girl was scared. Good. She should be. But not scared enough yet to confess, which meant Maya's performance was working. They still thought they were safe. They still believed Maya was the trusting, naive woman who'd never suspect her own husband and cousin. That evening, Derek found Maya standing on the porch, watching the sunset paint the mountains gold and crimson. He wrapped his arms around her waist, and she forced herself not to recoil. You sure you're all right? He murmured against her hair. You've been strange. I'm perfect, Maya said, and meant it in a way he couldn't understand. Tomorrow night is going to be unforgettable, Derek. I promise you that. Everything I've been planning, everything I've been holding inside, it's all going to come out. Derek kissed her temple. You always make everything special. Maya smiled into the dying light. Oh, darling, she whispered. You have no idea. Tomorrow, the masks would come off. Tomorrow, the truth would feast. Thursday arrived with unseasonable cold, as if the weather itself sensed what was coming. Maya woke before dawn and dressed with the care of a gunslinger preparing for a showdown. Navy silk dress. Hair pinned up. Her mother's pearls, the real ones, not the ones Derek had tried to sell last month thinking she wouldn't notice. She'd noticed everything. The house smelled of roasting beef and fresh bread, of apple pie and betrayal. Maya set the table with her finest china, the set that had survived the journey west in her grandmother's wagon. Each plate positioned precisely. Each knife aligned perfectly. This wasn't just dinner, it was a stage, and she was the director. At 6 o'clock, the guests began arriving. Sarah first, wearing concern on her face like a shawl. "Maya, darling, are you sure you're all right? You sounded strange in your note." "I've never been clearer about anything," Maya said, squeezing her friend's hand. "Just wait." Robert Blackwood arrived next, his stern face softening slightly when Maya greeted him. Then Margaret, Lena's mother, still beautiful at 50 and completely ignorant of why she'd really been invited. Derek and Lena were the last to arrive, separately, of course, maintaining the illusion. Derek wore his best suit. Lena wore a dress that Maya recognized with a sick jolt as one she'd helped alter just last month. They'd probably planned that together too. "What to wear when betraying me?" "Everyone's here." Maya's voice rang through the house like a bell. "Please, sit. I've arranged the seating specially." She positioned Derek at one end of the table, Lena directly across from him. Themselves at the other end, facing each other, unable to escape each other's eyes. The other guests filled the sides, witnesses to whatever was about to unfold. As they took their seats, Maya saw Derek and Lena exchange a glance. Quick. Nervous. Finally, they were starting to sense something was wrong. The air felt too heavy. Maya's smile too bright. The way she looked at them too knowing. "Shall we say grace?" Maya asked, clasping her hands. Everyone bowed their heads except Maya. She kept her eyes open, watching Derek and Lena squirm in their seats like animals sensing a trap. "Dear Lord," she began, her voice steady as stone. "Thank you for this gathering. For bringing together people who need to hear the truth." Maya opened her eyes. "Now, let's eat." The Last Supper had begun. The first course passed in strained civility. Maya served soup with a smile that never reached her eyes, watching Derek's hand shake slightly as he lifted his spoon. Across from him, Lena had barely touched her food, pushing liquid around her bowl like a child avoiding vegetables. "This is delicious, Maya," Sarah said, trying to fill the uncomfortable silence. "You've outdone yourself." "Thank you. I wanted everything to be perfect for tonight." Maya's gaze swept the table. "After all, it's not every day you get to say farewell to the people and things that have defined your life." Robert cleared his throat. "Maya, your note mentioned changes. Are you and Derek moving?" "Not exactly moving," Maya said, bringing out the main course, beef so tender it fell apart, potatoes golden with butter, vegetables arranged like a painting. "More like severing ties. Cutting away what's rotten to save what's healthy." "Have you ever had to do that, Robert? Cut away something poisoned?" Derek's fork clattered against his plate. "Maya. Let me finish, darling." Her voice was silk wrapped around steel. "I'm curious what everyone thinks. Lena, you're young. Tell me, what would you do if someone you loved, someone you trusted completely, betrayed you in the worst possible way?" Lena's face had gone white as the tablecloth. I don't know." "Really? You can't imagine it?" Maya tilted her head. "Not even a little?" "Margaret, what did you teach Lena about loyalty? About family bonds being sacred?" Margaret looked between her daughter and Maya, confusion clouding her features. "Maya, what's this about?" "Patience, Aunt Margaret. We'll get there." Maya stood, walking slowly around the table. Each step deliberate. Each pause calculated. "You see, I've been thinking about performances lately. About how we all wear masks. Some of us wear them to be polite. Others wear them to hide sins. She stopped behind Derek's chair, placing her hands on his shoulders. He flinched. Some people are such good actors, they can look you in the eye every single day and lie without blinking. They can take your trust, your love, your loyalty, and they can spit on it while smiling to your face. The room had gone deadly silent. Maya. Derek's voice cracked. What are you doing? Maya leaned down, whispering in his ear loud enough for everyone to hear, I'm taking off my mask, darling. Question is, are you ready to take off yours? Sarah's eyes widened with understanding. And Maya smiled. The noose was tightening. Maya straightened, moving back to her place at the head of the table. From beneath her chair, she pulled out a leather portfolio that made Derek's face drain of color. He recognized it. Of course he did, it was his. Before dessert, I'd like to share some reading material. Maya's voice remained unnaturally calm. I've compiled something special. A timeline, you might say. A story of love, trust, and betrayal. Maya, please, Lena's voice broke. Please what, cousin? Please stop? Please be quiet? Please keep playing the fool? Maya opened the portfolio, spreading photographs across the table. Pictures of letters. Pictures of hotel registries. Pictures of Derek and Lena meeting in town when they both claimed to be elsewhere. Sarah gasped. Margaret's hand flew to her mouth. Robert's face turned to granite. 6 months, Maya said, her voice finally cracking. 6 months of lies. Of late-night meetings. Of stolen moments while I planned family dinners and played the devoted wife. While I took Lena in, gave her a home, loved her like a sister. Maya, I can explain. Derek started to rise. Sit down. The command in her voice stopped him cold. You don't get to explain. You get to listen. Everyone here gets to listen to what you both did. How you laughed about me. How you planned your future together using money from my family's ranch. How you both decided that my trust, my love, my loyalty meant nothing. Lena was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Sorry you did it? Or sorry you got caught? Maya's laugh was brittle. Let me read you something. From one of your letters, Lena. Maya will never suspect. She trusts me completely. She's too good to see what's right in front of her. Margaret made a sound like a wounded animal. Lena, how could you? And Derek. Maya turned to her husband, her voice dropping to something dangerous. Let's talk about the land deeds. The accounts in only your name. The way you were slowly stealing from me, planning to leave me with nothing. Not just breaking my heart, trying to destroy my life. The room erupted. Robert lunging toward his brother. Sarah's arm around Maya's shoulders. Margaret's sobs. Lena's desperate attempts to explain. Derek's pathetic justifications cutting through the chaos. But Maya just stood there, tears finally streaming down her face. Not tears of sadness. Tears of relief. The truth was finally free. The dinner table had become a courtroom, and every guest a jury member delivering their verdict with stunned silence and horrified stares. Derek sat frozen, his mouth opening and closing like a fish drowning in air. Lena had collapsed into her chair, her sobs the only sound besides the clock ticking on the mantel. Get out. Robert's voice cut through the chaos. He grabbed Derek by the collar, hauling him up. Get out of this house. You're no brother of mine. Rob, please, if you just let me. Explain what? How you're a thief and a liar. How you destroyed your marriage and your honor. Robert's face was red with rage. Father would have horsewhipped you for this. I'm half tempted to finish what he started. Margaret had turned to her daughter with eyes full of anguish. How could you do this? To family? To the girl who took you in when you had nothing? Mama, I didn't mean, it just happened. Nothing just happens. Margaret's voice cracked. You chose this. Every day, you chose this. Maya watched it all unfold with a strange detachment, as if she were floating above the scene. This was what she'd wanted, wasn't it? Public exposure. Witnesses to their shame. Justice served cold on her finest china. So why did she feel so hollow? Sarah guided her away from the table, into the parlor where they could hear but not see the chaos. How long have you known? Her friend asked softly. Long enough to plan this dinner. Not long enough for it to hurt less. Maya sank into a chair, suddenly exhausted. Was I wrong, Sarah? Was this cruel? Cruel? Sarah knelt beside her. Maya, you gave them more mercy than they deserved. You could have shot them both. This is Montana territory, people would have understood. Instead, you exposed them with nothing but truth. Through the doorway, they watched Derek and Lena being ushered out by Robert, Margaret following with shame weighing down her shoulders. Derek tried one last time to catch Maya's eye, perhaps hoping for forgiveness or at least acknowledgement. Maya turned away. The divorce papers will be filed Monday, she said quietly. The ranch returns to my name only, Father's will was clear about that. I've already contacted a lawyer. Derek will leave with whatever he brought into this marriage. Which is to say, nothing. Sarah squeezed her hand. And Lena? Maya's smile was sad. Lena gets to live with her choices. Outside, a door slammed. The house fell silent. 3 months later, Maya stood on her porch watching the sunrise paint the Montana mountains in shades of gold and rose. The ranch was entirely hers now, the divorce finalized, Derek's name scrubbed from every deed and document like he'd never existed. The town had taken sides, as small towns do. Some whispered that her dinner party had been too cruel, too calculated. Others said she'd been too soft, that Derek and Lena deserved worse. Maya didn't care much about either opinion. She'd learned that other people's judgments meant nothing compared to knowing your own worth. Lena had left Montana entirely, fled to San Francisco with her tail between her legs. Margaret had apologized a dozen times, until Maya finally told her the truth, your daughter's choices aren't your fault. But they're not my burden either. They'd parted on civil terms, if not warm ones. Derek tried to come back once, 3 weeks after the dinner. Showed up drunk and crying, begging for forgiveness. Robert had been there, fortunately, and sent him packing with a black eye and a warning not to return. Now the ranch was quiet in the way Maya had always wanted, peaceful, not empty. She'd hired 2 ranch hands, both women who'd been widowed young and needed work. Together they ran the place better than Derek ever had. Sarah visited often, bringing books and gossip and the kind of friendship that didn't need explanations. You did the right thing, she'd said last week. You chose yourself. Maya hadn't thought of it that way, but Sarah was right. For the first time in her life, she'd chosen her own dignity over someone else's comfort. Her own truth over someone else's lies. The morning air smelled like sage and possibility. Somewhere in the distance, cattle lowed. Closer by, her new dog, a stray she'd taken in last month, pressed against her leg seeking attention. What do you think, Scout? Maya scratched behind the dog's ears. Should we ride out to the north pasture today? Check the fence line? The dog wagged his tail, and Maya laughed. A real laugh, not performed for anyone's benefit. She'd said farewell that night, not to Derek, not to Lena, but to the version of herself who'd believed that being good meant being blind. That loving someone meant accepting betrayal. That family loyalty only went one way. That Maya was gone. And the woman standing in her place? She was finally, beautifully free.